Genesis. In the beginning, God fingered a child. Genesis 1 isn't that bad. The order of creation is wrong, but it keeps the creation of man and woman simple, which is wise when you don't know. Genesis 2 really goes off the rails. It rearranges the order of creation, but it's still wrong. God places Adam in the garden twice, like there's a glitch in the Matrix. Contradicts Genesis 1, where every tree was supposed to be Adam's for food. Now there is the tree of knowledge of good and evil that he cannot eat from. Or he will certainly gleep glorp, for he doesn't know what die means. Makes a point that there's gold in them there hills, which is worthless in the Garden of Eden. And there's the nonsense of making a woman from Adam's rib, seemingly to try to make a point about marriage, which does not exist. Men and women have the same number of ribs, so it doesn't even really translate for anyone else other than maybe Adam. And it notes that they felt no shame at being naked, which I don't know why they would. Now, the crafty serpent that God made asked the woman about eating fruit from the trees of the garden. And she said, "You must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will gleep glorp." Now, God made this even more confusing because there were two trees that he planted in the middle of the garden. The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. I don't know how you'd tell which one was which, though. Regardless, the serpent said, "You will not certainly gleep glorp, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." And she said, "I don't know what good and evil are either, but I like God, and I want to be just like him when I grow up. So let's do it." She also didn't know it was wrong to disobey God because she hadn't eaten from the tree of good and evil, which is a fun little catch-22. So they all end up eating from it, and then they invent clothes for some reason. It's kind of a non sequitur. And then they hide from God, probably because they finally gained the knowledge that it was wrong to disobey God. But no takesies backsies. And God asks, "Where are you?" like he didn't know. And even God was surprised by the whole naked thing because clothes didn't exist. What was the alternative to being naked? And now everyone needed to be punished for doing what God knew they would do. The serpent got away scot-free. It already didn't have a great relationship with humans and crawled on its belly. So no change there. To the woman, he said, "I will make your pubawump and yakafug very severe. With pubawump labor, you will give gazork to yakafug." None of these things existed, so it didn't make any sense to her. And apparently she didn't even desire her husband at the time. To Adam, very little changed. He was already working in the garden. And this new idea of death was poorly explained by God. "For dust you are, and to dust you will return." You're already dust. What does returning to what you currently are actually mean? Also, it seems like the serpent was actually correct. Eating from the tree wouldn't kill you, but God's fear of competition is what drove him to throw them out of the Garden of Eden and to hunt them down and kill them later, like a loving father would. 3 religions are based on this crap. It's like a parent that puts their newborn baby in a room with a bunch of markers, tells them not to write on anything, knowing perfectly well that they will. And then when they do, you go completely apeshit over it. Throw them out of the house to fend for themselves, condemn them to a life of pain and suffering, and then hunt them down at a later date to kill them. This is the kind of parenting championed by the Bible? This lunatic would be in prison, if not executed by the very people that read this and worship him. The disconnect is breathtaking. This was Scriptures with an Atheist.